There's a strange calm before a truth is spoken, not silence, pressure, the kind that builds quietly, invisibly, until even avoidance feels exhausting. Right now, someone is standing at the edge of a sentence they've never said before. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were afraid of what would change once the words existed. Psychology shows that people don't confess when they feel ready. They confess when the weight of holding back becomes heavier than the fear of speaking. And what makes this moment different is that this time the truth isn't rehearsed. It's inevitable. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. What you're about to witness is that dizziness, the final moment before honesty takes form. This is not about what will be said. It's about why it can no longer remain unspoken." Chapter 1. The Pressure of Unspoken Words. Silence is often mistaken for absence, but psychologically it is presence without release. Thoughts circle endlessly, searching for the right moment, the right safety, the right certainty. Yet certainty never comes. What grows instead is internal pressure, emotional congestion. When a truth is delayed too long, the mind turns against itself. Suppression requires energy. Over time, that energy becomes tension, restlessness, and sudden emotional shifts. This is why silence begins to feel heavier than rejection. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche observed, "Thoughts are the shadows of our feelings, always darker, emptier, and simpler." Here the shadow grows larger than the feeling itself. The truth is no longer just an idea. It becomes a burden. Avoidance stops working, distraction fails, and something subtle changes. The fear of speaking transforms into fear of not speaking. This is where the story begins, not with courage, but with emotional exhaustion. Because honesty doesn't arrive heroically. It arrives when silence can no longer survive. Chapter 2. Why this moment feels different. There are many moments where truth almost escapes, but retreats. What makes this one different is psychological saturation. The mind reaches a limit where suppression loses its protective function. This is the stage where emotional honesty feels less dangerous than continued silence. The nervous system adapts to fear, but it cannot adapt to prolonged internal conflict. That's why the body reacts first: shallow breathing, sudden clarity, an urge to speak without rehearsal. Carl Jung wrote, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." Here resistance has grown so large that it demands acknowledgement. The truth begins organizing itself, not as a confession, but as relief. It's no longer about being understood. It's about being free. This is why the moment feels unfamiliar even to the one experiencing it. They've never crossed this internal threshold before. Something irreversible has begun. Silence hasn't failed. It has fulfilled its role. It carried the truth until it was strong enough to stand on its own. Chapter 3. The Psychology of Speaking at Last. When words finally approach the surface, they no longer ask for permission. Psychology calls this emotional override, when the limbic system overtakes fear-based restraint. At this stage, silence feels dishonest. The truth becomes an identity issue, not a choice. Holding it back would mean denying something fundamental. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "We are our choices," and in this moment the choice is no longer whether to speak, but whether to remain fragmented. Speaking becomes an act of self-integration. What's important is that this confession isn't dramatic. It's quiet, grounded, almost calm. That's how you know it's real. Emotional maturity doesn't shout, it stabilizes. This is why the words once spoken cannot be taken back. They were not impulsive. They were incubated in silence, refined through fear, and strengthened by restraint. The truth doesn't arrive loudly, it arrives complete. Chapter 4. After the words exist. Once spoken, the truth changes the internal landscape forever. Even if nothing else happens externally, something irreversible has already occurred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The silence that once blocked expression becomes the path to emotional clarity. Relief replaces tension. Confusion dissolves into acceptance. Regardless of outcome, alignment has been restored. This is why this moment matters, not because of what is said, but because of what no longer needs to be hidden. The confession marks the end of an internal war. And here lies the quiet truth. This moment didn't happen because of courage. It happened because honesty became the only remaining option. The story doesn't end with words. It begins with emotional freedom. And once truth exists, it never returns to silence.